be saying, oh, you should do winter sports. I'm sorry, I don't do nothing that my ancestors wouldn't do. Talk about it with my friend was like, you should talk about dating. I don't really have much to say about this, except that came here, y'all, I was very confused. I said, what is Twin Cities? What is the twin? Who is the twin? I was just like, what's going on? If you think a Boston winter is bad, y'all, yo, nah. I don't know how I should say this. I don't want to get canceled. Like, how do I say this in a non-problematic way? Is the racism worse there than in other places? And I'm assuming you clicked on this video because you want to know the truth about living in Minneapolis, either because you live here, you're about to move here, or you're visiting and you just want to know what it's about. Well, here I want to give you a true, honest take about Minneapolis so that you come more prepared than I did. And I'm not going to do a lot of like edits or in this video. It's not going to be well edited, which is not usually how I do things. I just want to talk with y'all as if we're on FaceTime. This is what I want to tell you. I got my phone here, so I have my notes and I make sure I go through the points that I want to go through. So without further ado, let's get started. Number one, let's talk about the demographics of Minneapolis, just because I think it's really important when you're going to move somewhere to know what the racial demographics are, SES status, things like that, so you know what you're getting yourself into. I'm focusing on race for the context of time in this video, but here I was actually very surprised to see these stats. So white is 56 to 60%, black is 18 to 21%, Hispanic Latino 9% to 10%, Asian 5% to 5.3%, American Indian 1%. I don't know how accurate that is. I don't know how accurate this is, to be very honest with you. And the reason why I'm saying this is because Minneapolis is actually very, 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 very segregated. So even though these stats exist, I don't really feel this. Like, for example, I can go a whole day not seeing none of my Latino brothers and sisters because many of them are in South Minneapolis. Or like in North Minneapolis, there's a lot of black people, or there's a huge Somali population, but there's certain communities where you're going to see them most prevalently. But if you're not in those spaces, you're really not going to see it. So it just feels like everyone's really separated. And that's because of the policies that have been put into place that have led to like a lot of marginalized communities being in certain communities, which, as we know, that's a thing in America, honestly, throughout all of America. But it's just so funny because before this, when I used to be in like New York or East Coast cities, I used to complain about segregation all the time. But I was like, I came here and I said, wow, this is next level. Okay, this is next level. And that I was not used to. So even though these stats say something, you might not necessarily feel that unless you're in certain places. And also, another thing too, I want to also show the demographics of the whole state of Minnesota, because I think that's actually really important. In the whole state of Minnesota, you got white 76%, black 7.1%, Asian 5.2%, Latino 6.5%. And then you have another city called St. Paul, which is right beside Minneapolis. And it's actually very important to talk about St. Paul too, because people will talk about Minneapolis, St. Paul all the time. When I first moved here, I had no idea what St. Paul was. I was like, who that? Like, I had no idea. But the best way I can compare St. Paul is think of like Oakland and SF, or think of Brooklyn and Manhattan. Y'all, I'm not saying that St. Paul is like Oakland or Brooklyn, but in terms of like proximity, it's the best way I can explain it. Because imagine like St. Paul is close to Minneapolis, but depending on what part you're gonna get into, it could be far. So that's really important to know that, because when I came here, y'all, I was very confused. I said, what is Twin Cities? What is the twin? Who is the twin? I was just like, what's going on? So that's important context to get. St. Paul though, demographics, when you see, it's actually showing white 50%, Asian 18%, black 16% to 18%, Hispanic or Latino 9% to 10%. The reason why I'm saying this is because a big Hmong population that primarily resides in St. Paul. And honestly, when I'm in St. Paul, I feel the diversity. I can actually feel it a lot more. Because past the point, this community is being super segregated. So just something to be aware of. You're like, oh, I'm not feeling it. Let me go to St. Paul. But mind you, St. Paul is mad quiet, which actually leads to maybe the second part when I talk about kind of like the vibe. Like, what is the vibe? What's the vibe? You know, the vibe. Think Minneapolis and St. Paul are quiet. Oh, how do I describe the vibe? Honestly, I would say the vibe is don't think city. Minneapolis is not a city. I know you might be fighting me, but it's more like a suburb. And then St. Paul is even more quiet than Minneapolis. Like St. Paul is like a pin drop, you know? And you need to know this if you're going to come here, or else you will be very, very shocked. Even when my brother came and visited me, he was like, where are the people at? Because downtown is not quiet. He's scared because like, why nobody on the street? Like if something happens, y'all ain't gonna know because nobody's here to witness it, and that's what scares me. And this is coming from somebody who I have walked through some of the most quote-unquote dangerous neighborhoods in like America and like New York and like DC by myself at night, in the day, and I will kind of get on edge here because nobody's on the street. So take that as you will. This is the first time I moved somewhere where I heard a pistol whipping. Someone's getting a pistol and they whipping you with it. Like, at that point, just use the pistol. Like, anyway, I don't know. It just be interesting. This is a different world. This is a whole new world. Okay. Anyway, I don't know why I just did that. And because it is suburb vibes, I always joke that people here either have known somebody since they was 3 years old and the fetus out of their mama's womb, or they related. Because a lot of times I meet someone, they're like, oh yeah, that's my husband. Oh yeah, that's my cousin. Oh yeah, that's my aunt. I said, there has to be incest. There has to be incest. Because at this rate, even like recently, the video that I posted about Minneapolis got some traction. And I was looking on Instagram, people who were following me. And of course, somebody that I knew was following them. And it's just like the community's so small. It's so small. It's like kind of scary. It's just so small. But there's also kind of a pro with that because you kind of be knowing people, which is kind of nice. But also it's just so small. It's so small. But I want to give some context, even as I'm sharing all these different experiences. But when you ask people about their experience in a place, whether it's about the vibe or the atmosphere, you need to understand where that person is coming from and where their previous experiences were, because that will help you determine the best decision for you. For example, for me, I am from the South, but I also have lived in Philly, New York, and LA at certain points of my life. So I have a very specific picture when it comes to city. I also lived in DC too, and like Maryland. And because of that context, and I would say that privilege, 'cause that is a privilege. Let's be 100% honest. That is a privilege, right? To have those other experiences and having traveled to those places. Because of that lens, I do have a certain lens when it comes to considering something a city. So that is where my lens comes from. And that is not the landscape. And I think you have to just be mentally prepared for that. But if you're coming from someone that's like, honestly, either not that diverse or more small town, it's easier to view Minneapolis like a city, if that makes sense. I hope that makes a lot of sense. So when someone's giving you their lens or perspective on a place, understand where they're coming from, their context. Which leads, honestly, to point 3, which is the social scene. And I'm going to start off, actually, with first talking about dating. I didn't want to talk about it with my friend was like, you should talk about dating. I don't really have much to say about this, except that my first experiences have been traumatizing, to say the very least. So I just lived through their experiences. And shocking to me was there are a lot of interracial relationships, which I'm not anti-interracial at all. Like, at all. You know, love is love. Like, we love. But I think it's really, really jarring when, I don't know how I should say this. I don't want to get canceled. Like, how do I say this in a non-problematic way? Let me be honest. There's a lot of black men with white women here. Should I say it? Should I say this? Maybe should I delete this? Let me give some context. I reconnected with somebody from high school, and she lives in Ohio, and she was saying that she saw so many interracial relationships that she thought like that's the only thing that happens in Ohio. I'm sorry. I thought that was so funny. I was like, and then she was like, oh, that's not the only thing that happens. And of course we know this happens like everywhere, but I'm not going to say much about that. I'm just going to leave it there and take that as you will. But I will say that I had to talk about dating because if you are single in Minneapolis, your experience is going to be very, 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 very different from other people's experiences in the city. So even when I was telling y'all about know where people are coming from in their context, this is what I mean. I am from the South, lived in the Northeast, but I also am single, do not have family here, and came here with no friends. Okay, so that was kind of bold, I guess, but I say all of that to say, like, that is my lens. I don't have kids either, so I feel like if you are single, don't got kids, don't have family here, your perspective and your experience here will be very, very different. If you're in either 3 of those categories where maybe you have a partner or maybe you have kids or maybe you have family, your experience will be very different. Like your social experience will be very, very different from mine. I say the partner thing not because I believe that you need a partner to be happy and to be content in life. That's not what I mean. But I say the partner thing because this place is really built for people who have a partner already, like, especially because when it's wintertime, you finna be cooped up in your house, okay? So you want to have your boo by your side, you feel me? So that can really shape your experience. I honestly, gonna be honest with you, I just don't be prioritizing it. My friends' experiences are enough for me, so I'm just like, I'll be cooped up in the house. But let me just say, it hasn't been the greatest, and I think when you add whatever, I want to start with the dating. Editing IO here, and I feel like I was just being way too politically correct during this portion. I'm gonna just keep it a buck with you. Dating is trash. Okay, it's trash for Black women. It's been not a great experience. Of course, I know people who still got this relationship and it was fine or whatever, but the majority is in el basura. Okay, so and the second thing too, as I was looking at this, I feel like some of y'all are gonna say, "Oh, Ayomine, the Black kings don't want you. If the Black kings don't, just go to the white kings. Just go to the Asian kings. Go to the other kings." I'm not talking about that. Like, I just feel like, honestly, if I'm keeping a buck with you, like, Black women are not like, people are not looking for us a lot here. Not saying it doesn't happen. It definitely happens, but I'm not trying to focus on where I'm not celebrated and wanted. So I just feel like I had to say that though, because I don't know, maybe if you are somebody who's here and you feeling like, dang, am I ugly? My friend who just moved to Philly even actually said, like, I had to remind myself that I am beautiful. Like, I am good looking. But I want to just say that in case somebody's feeling like, is there something wrong with me? What's going on? Ain't nothing wrong with you, queen, okay? Ain't nothing wrong with you. I just feel like that needs to be said. And I'm also not trying to say that, oh, Black women are not decided on, nobody's ever dating us, or da-da-da-da-da. No, I know people who are, but, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's a little rough here, okay? I don't want to talk about dating no more. Now let's talk about the culture. It's very passive aggressive, and that's something I did not know. And I didn't know this too, that this is a very heavy Scandinavia and German culture. You might be like, girl, what are you talking about? I didn't know this either, but basically that means that it's a lot more reserved, a lot less social, a lot less kiki, ha 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 ha. Someone actually put a thread recently that said, like, do not gaslight me and tell me my experience as a Black woman ain't gonna be hard here. And I said, period, poo, I agree. Because it is a very different and hard experience being here when you're used to more like social and liveliness. And I know this partially because y'all know I always be in New York, okay? Follow me on Instagram, by the way. That's kind of where I get more up to date. I always be in New York. So I was in New York and last year, and I was talking to this girl from Spain, and she was saying how she goes to school in Germany. She was like, I don't like it there. I was like, girl, what you mean? Like, why'd you like it? And she said, because the culture is just very, like, not very friendly, not very warm. And I then asked her this question, like, what other parts of Europe would you say are like that? And she said, Scandinavia. And I said, yeah. And that makes sense to me. So think of America. Like, America's this big place, right? But honestly, Minneapolis, Minnesota, I would say as a whole, is actually more like Germany and Scandinavia, but in America. Because the culture, it got on a chokehold, okay? That culture is still very much there. So it's not like a very kiki, haha, da 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 da. Like, it takes, like, I feel like a lot to socialize with folks here compared to in other places, which, once again, was super jarring for me. Well, one way I can say you can really help cope with this is to get on Instagram. You're gonna be like, girl, I'm already on Instagram. I wasn't on Instagram until a couple years ago, because there you're gonna know all the different social events that are going on and befriending other transplants. Like, now I feel like I do got friends. I do got friends in Minneapolis. But the hardest thing I will say too is that because I'm befriending transplants, a lot of them being Black women, they are all leaving at the same time. So, like, I befriend people, but then they finna leave. Especially if, like, they're in the same situation as me, you know, single, don't got kids, don't got a family. So it can be harder because of that. But those are the ways you can really get connected. Y'all know I have this series going on my channel right now about, like, basically it's a mini Minneapolis series, and I'm going over social places you can go to, business support, things like that. So you don't feel as alone or don't feel like it's as hard. It's just specifically Black owned that I'm focusing on in this series. But I just don't want you to be in the same situation that I was in, where I was just like, fighting for my life, okay? Because I just know we praise him that we made it through. But I just don't want you to be in the same situation as me. So I want to make sure you have the resources, that you don't feel so alone. But I also want you to know, if you are struggling right now in Minneapolis and you're just like, why do I feel like I can't socialize with people here? Why do I feel like socially awkward? Why I feel like I just want to say, you are not alone. Oh, I think that's the only reason why I made this video. You are not alone. Don't get emotional. You're not alone. I just want you to know that you're really not alone, and you are not insane. Okay, you are seeing what you are seeing, and it is really happening. Please, do you see me? Like, you're seeing it is happening, and you're not alone. And so many of us have gone through this. I speak to so many Black women all the time who've gone through this. There's actually a guy who I met, it was like a couple years ago, and he asked me, he said, why do so many Black women struggle here? And of course there are Black women who don't struggle here, who have a good old time, you know, who have a great time. But I want you to know, like, you're not insane. I think that's the reason why I made this video, just to tell you you're not insane. So check out those social spaces that I put on. It'll be on my blog too, but it's on the video series right now, the short series, and I'm going to put that down below in the biography, whatever it's called. Obviously, as we see, Minneapolis has been on the news quite a lot in the past few years. And a question my friend asked me, which I think is a really good question, she was like, is the racism worse there than in other places? And I think the thing about Minneapolis is that because of the passive aggressive culture and things building up under the surface, it's like things are like quietly like, and it just explodes. You know what I mean? When something's just kind of contained, it's like people aren't talking about what they be talking about, so it's just gonna boom boom. I honestly think that's what Minneapolis is, and I think part of that's because the culture. There's this culture in Minnesota called quote unquote Minnesota nice, which isn't really nice, to be honest with you. And I think that is the thing. Like, I think the culture kind of lets things kind of be in the surface where people think everything's all right, everything's okay, but things ain't okay, things ain't good, so nothing's being addressed, and then granted, they're amazing organized people doing such amazing work on the ground who are trying to address different things, but things just don't get addressed that need to be addressed, and they explode, and we see it on the national news. So that's what I have to say about that. I think the racism here is more subtle. It's not like, I prefer, like, if you're gonna be racist, be to it my face, you know what I mean? Like, we don't gotta be fake about it. Like, that's why, like, in the South, you're gonna know who your enemy is. You're gonna know who your enemy. Hello, like, you're gonna know. I prefer that, and I think that's just part of the whole Minnesota nice culture, which, in my opinion, is just passive aggressive and is honestly not very friendly and not very nice. So I just think that's really important to know when you come here, so you're not just like, what, confused, because it is a very common sentiment that I hear from a lot of transplants. Okay, let's talk about the weather. Oh, okay, y'all. So I lived in Boston, and I did not like Boston winters, and I knew I didn't like Boston winters. I'm like, girl, why are you gonna be so that? And I be asking myself the question every day now, to be honest with you. Like, I'm like, I didn't like Boston winters. I was brought up for my life in Boston. Okay, I don't know why you do that. Okay, anyway, but one thing that's hard is that if you think a Boston winter is bad, y'all, yo, nah. This winter been no. We're not declaring that over you. You're gonna be successful in Jesus' name. But I will say it gets to like the negatives. One time it was so cold, I literally came back. I cried. I said, what? Why is my face like this? People be saying, oh, you should do winter sports. I'm sorry. I don't do nothing that my ancestors wouldn't do. I'm sorry. My ancestors, they was not out there doing these winter sports to socialize. So I'm not about to do that. Okay, I'm not about to do that. Also, for me, it is a health hazard though, because it's not frostbite all the way, but it's like the second level close to frostbite. My hands get white. I can't do those winter sports. Mind you, I also thought there were mountains here. There ain't no mountains, so I thought I was gonna become a skier. My friend got me ski goggles, y'all. I don't know where it's at right now, but I got me some ski goggles I have not used in the past couple years because there's no mountains. I'm sorry, I'm not skiing on flat land, mad flat. Anyway, obviously I don't like the weather, obviously. If you like cold weather and you like freezing, like, sure, go for it. I tell people all the time, if you like seasonal depression, please go for it. But one thing I did not expect though that I think is really important, not just the negative temperatures, but also the gloomy skies. It is honestly, in my opinion, it is very gloomy here. And my friend who's from the DMV area, she actually said, like, the weather isn't what gets her. It's actually the fact that it's just so cloudy. If I knew that in my decision, I would not have moved here because I actually know I can't do gloomy weather. It's very much giving Washington State. And the way that I would say you can also like cope with that and offset with that is please take your vitamin D. please take your vitamin D, because my vitamin D, y'all, was a 6. I think the normal level is a 30. I didn't know. I was like, am I seriously depressed or am I just vitamin D deficient? Please, that's actually really not good, really not healthy. Something else you can do too is using a sun lamp. I know it can be hard to be consistent with that, but please invest in that, because one thing that I do is I'll put it in my bathroom, and I found that to be kind of helpful to help me like stay accountable, you know, and stick with it. I know it can be hard to do though, but please do that and invest in that, because whoa, it can really help a little bit to have that on in the morning to get some sunlight that you might not be getting. But take your vitamin D, get that sun lamp. People say it's about how you wear your layers. I'm just like, no, I just don't think my ancestors would be doing it. I don't think I should be in this weather. I don't think any amount of layers is going to fix that issue that genetically is not going to work out. Like, it's just not. So that's one way you can do that. Something else someone else recommended is that actually getting plane tickets to Cancun during the winter time, because they're cheaper apparently. I don't know how true that is, okay? I'm not going to Cancun in the winter time, but apparently it's cheaper during that time. I think during like MLK weekend. So check that out too. Try to go to somewhere warm. Okay, let's now talk about transportation. Oh my gosh. Okay, long story short, get you a car, honestly, but it depends on where you need to go and what you need to do and the context behind that. Let me explain why. Because if you need to like go somewhere that is close by but not too far, you don't need a car, then that could maybe work, to be honest. Or if you live somewhere where transportation is more good, I would say like downtown transportation is a little more good. They have buses, trains. Now it's not going to be no New York times. It's not going to be no DC times. Okay, I would say the train comes every 20 minutes ish. Mind you, in the winter that can be kind of a lot. Please get a heated car. What is it called? Where you keep your car at? Heated parking garage. My gosh, I don't know English. Get a heated parking garage if you can. I know that's expensive. That's expensive, but that's partially the reason why I don't have a car, because there's always like an extra monthly cost with that. And then number 2, I also don't know how to drive in the snow. It's like, that's a big part for me too. Is I don't know. So a way to cope with this and to kind of caveat this is, number 1, you can become a biker. The biking trails are amazing here. Actually, they're amazing. Now, granted, do I bike in the winter? No. I also haven't biked, honestly, a lot in the summer either. But there was a season where I was biking a lot at some point. Number 2 is there's something called EV Hour Car, which lets you get a car, use it for a certain amount of time, then you can just drop it off. I use that quite frequently. You've probably already seen it in my YouTube videos, to be honest. I'm like, girl, what type of car you will use it? That's what I be using, because I can just like use it when I want, because I don't always need to go out. But if I need to go to like Walmart or something, or go somewhere a little bit farther, an EV car is really useful, which is why I say, long story short, just get the car if you can and if you can afford it. But I will say, for me, it is like, it'd be hard, bro. Like, it'd be hard. Like, I don't got a car, but I use this EV car. The most convenient thing you can do is get you a car, to be honest with you. But like, I'm living this life right now, and I'm working it out. But because of where I live and where I'm located, it's a little easier to kind of navigate a little bit more. So, okay, that is all, y'all, for today. I really, really hope this helps you. I'm putting all this information about like social spaces, things to do in my blog, because the first time I made this video a couple years ago, I was just rambling, and I didn't give y'all I gave y'all some resources, but not really. I was just kikiing, you know. Okay. But this time I really, really wanted to give y'all like helpful resources and tips so that you are better prepared than I was. So I really hope this helps you. If you live here, if you're about to live here, and if you have questions, feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram, and I'll see y'all on another day with I Am a Day. Okay, bye y'all.